In the first century world, they believed in Greek gods too. They believed in demon possession. They believed in things they couldn't explain. They said it was magic. But this is the 21st century. This is the age of reason and rationality and science. We know people don't walk on water. We know demon possession, they would say, is schizophrenia or something like that. And we certainly know that people don't rise from the dead. So they say, why we're doing this, and we're not trying to destroy Christianity, they would say, we're trying to save Christianity. Because we don't do something, people aren't going to believe in it anymore. So what we have to do is get all that myth out of the road and get back and find the true historic Jesus. The great prophet, the ethical leader, the teacher, the man, not God, but the man who gives us an example of how we're supposed to live. And then we can follow his teachings, and we can follow his example, and therefore, we can serve God like he did. Then we can save Christianity that way by demythologizing Jesus. What do you think about that? I think probably most of us in this room, if not all of us, would say, well, I don't agree with that assessment of Jesus, and I don't agree with that assessment of the Bible, and so on and so on. But is there any validity to their argument? Now, here's my first question. This is what we're going to be dealing with today. How important is the bodily resurrection of Jesus from the dead? Just how important is that? I read a survey recently. It was a Barnard survey. And in that survey, now look at this, it said only 33%, one-third, of mainline Protestant ministers believe in the resurrection of Jesus. One-third. You say, what do you mean by mainline Protestants? We're talking about, some Methodists, we're talking about Episcopalian, perhaps we're talking about Presbyterian, there are a number of denominations. Now the question then is, if that many ministers don't even believe in the resurrection of Jesus, well, how important can it possibly be? Now, on the flip side, I read another poll, I don't think I put it up here, by a Harris poll, kind of interesting. And they said they discovered that 96% of people who call themselves Christians say they believe in the resurrection of Jesus. But only 26% of those who don't call themselves Christians believe in the resurrection of Jesus. You say, well, Dr. Weeder, what did these two polls tell us? Well, I think what it tells me is this. If I'm going to believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, I have to ask myself, how do I convince non-believers and some preachers that my believing in Jesus Christ doesn't make me some kind of a crackpot stuck in the first century where faith has turned into foolishness and gullibility? So I want to share with you what I'm going to be talking about for the next 3 weeks. Week by week, just briefly, and then hopefully you'll come back and want to hear it all. But the first thing we're going to talk about, here's the 3 thoughts that we're going to be having. The first one we're going to talk about today is the critical importance of the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ. How important to Christianity, how important to our faith is the fact that Jesus did rise bodily from the grave? Do these people out here who have a different view have any ground to stand on? How important is it that Jesus really rose to the dead? That's what we're going to talk about today. Next week, and I hope you want to see this, I think this is, to me, the most interesting part of the lecture series is next week, the evidence for the resurrection. Now, notice what I'm saying here. I'm talking about the evidence, the facts, for the birth, life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, I know you have to have faith for salvation, and I'm going to talk about that. But my question next week is, can we trust the Bible? Can we trust what the Gospels say? Is there any way we can know if it's true or not? And besides that, is there evidence, is there facts out there about the resurrection of Jesus outside the Bible that we can hold on to build our faith? I think you're going to be amazed if you come back and hear about the real facts and evidence of the resurrection. Finally, in our third week, we're going to look at the objections and alternatives to the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ. If Jesus did not rise from the dead, what happened? What happened to his body? Where did it go? What are the other explanations? What are the other hypotheses? Do they make any more sense? Is it more rational? Is there more evidence for those beliefs than there is that Jesus rose from the dead? That's what we're going to be doing for the next 3 weeks. But today, we're going to focus on number 1, the critical importance of the bodily resurrection. Now, let me stop and say this. At the end of the time today, I will stop, hopefully, and if somebody asks me questions or something, I'll be glad to take questions, because this is a little more of a lecture than a sermon. And usually you don't stop and ask questions into my sermon, but I guess you could, but but today you can have the right to do that, and feel free. Now, let's go back and ask ourselves the question: how important is the resurrection of Jesus? Now, I'm looking around the room. Virgil. Virgil looks like a skeptic to me, particularly in that shirt. Anyway, anybody wear a shirt like that, something a little bit wrong with him. So, we're gonna make Virgil a skeptic today. All right? And Virgil, so I meet Virgil in the coffee shop. We're at Starbucks, and I'm reading my Bible or something, and he starts talking to me, and he says,